Welcome back, Ascenders, to the Ascended Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Mystic Rain. So listen, I got a funny one for you today. Have you ever given somebody the perfect gift only to realize they didn't quite return the favor? What happens when a holiday generosity becomes a balancing act of what I gave versus what I got? We've got to unpack this and also explore the spiritual nature of like what it says about us and our expectations. Okay, so listen, in today's episode, I have a funny story for you. I have a funny story. It's a story that's making waves. Um, Reported in People magazine, there is actually a man that downgraded his sister's-in-law's holiday gift because of what she bought him. I'm going to walk you through the story because the story is hilarious. So, there was an agreement between families. There is a man, there is a sister-in-law, there is also a brother. The brother is the brother of the man, henceforth why there is a sister-in-law. And they had a gift giving policy. And that gift giving policy was that they were going to exchange gifts between $50 and $100, right? So this man, he's like doing his thing. He's caring about quality and he's trying to make sure that he is giving something that a person would actually like to receive, right? And so he goes, I know what this person would actually like to receive, this person being his sister in law. I'm gonna get her like an Apple Watch band. There's a pretty gold Apple Watch band. I'm gonna get her that for the holidays. And so he then even went out of his way to send her a wrist sizing kit to make sure that he actually got the size right for the watch band. Now, the sister-in-law was also fully aware of the fact that it was going to be an Apple Watch band. So there was no surprise here, right? Then guess what happened? The sister-in-law then gave him her gift, and guess what the gift was? Are you ready for this? Literally, can somebody guess what the gift was? It was a pair of socks. It was a pair of socks. Now hold on. The socks evidently were a pair of like hiking socks. They weren't a pair of like Hanes socks, but they were still nonetheless like nevertheless socks. And so the guy went and instead of getting the Apple Watch when he was like on the internet searching for the Apple Watch band, he said that there was an insignia band that looked just like the Apple Watch band, but it was cheaper for $45. And so he bought that one instead. And then he said he gave her that watch, and then when she opened it, that she had this massive look of disappointment because she was expecting this Apple Watch band. And then get this, later, his brother calls him and was like, "Oh my God, did you plan initially on doing the bait and switch?" And he was like, "Bro, she got me socks." But I do think that this story highlights a deeper conversation about things like reciprocity, expectations, and the meaning we attach to gifts. When we expect a certain level of appreciation or like value, are we truly giving from a place of love? Or is it about ego? Particularly at this time of year when it's supposed to be a very generous giving time of year, like, is it actually coming from a place of love, right? Now, the man's gift was originally valued at $100, right? And apparently the socks were worth $26, right? Because they were like hiking specialty socks and they were $26. Now, the question I have for you is, do you think this man was being petty or do you think this man was actually justified? Because here's the last piece of the story that I left out is that this man apparently had fell in love with a specific brand of hiking socks, and they are a lot more expensive than your traditional Hanes socks. It costs about $26 per pair. And apparently, this man was actually working on a collection of getting all of the socks from this particular brand. He was actually in the process of working on filling up his drawer with these particular hiking socks. And so the sister in law got him a pair of hiking socks. Now, with this additional information, do you feel like he was being petty, or do you feel like what he did was actually was actually justified. Because gift giving during the holidays is often more than just generosity, right? It's tied to things like emotion, expectations, and sometimes even status. And I think the story hits home because it reflects how people value relationships, but then also how they value things like fairness, right? Like there are critics, they're saying that the man's move was immature and that he turned a season of giving into like competition. But then there's other people that are saying that it's understandable to feel slighted when like your efforts aren't being reciprocated. But then my thing is like, what effort is supposed to be reciprocated in the sense of like, that's your brother's wife, like, and then like she's married to him. So I'm also kind of curious as to like how much effort did he think that she was going to put into it to begin with. And I do think that at the heart of this story, there is a powerful question, right? Like, are we giving gifts with the love and and detachment, or are we secretly in the process of keeping score? And then also, how does that mirror deeper spiritual lessons about attachment and then also expectations? Because honestly, let's be real, right? Like, I get the frustration. You put time into it, you put thought into it, you put money into a gift only to feel like someone threw theirs together last minute. Like that sucks. But here's the thing, like, what does downgrading a gift say about you? Like, we understand socks and like what that says about a person. Literally anyone can look at somebody without actually saying a word. If they watch somebody else receive socks, like we all collectively have a thought about what that may mean about that person. But then if you then go and downgrade your gift when it was publicly known to be an Apple Watch fan, right? Like, then what does that say about you? What is now the new narrative that's being created, right? And if you look at it from that perspective, then yeah, it's a little petty. Like we've all been there, but there is a slippery slope when it comes into like doing like gifting people for real reasons, but then also like resenting them and then comparing yourself to them with a gift. Because why would you go out of your way to give a, like a thoughtful gift to them being like, I'm actually not gonna do that. Like, come on, man. Right. But then I also do think that this story reveals something that's more universal. We do tend to measure value based on what we receive in return, whether that's gift, whether it's love or effort, and we often crave balance. But the thing is, like life and relationships aren't all transactional, and to be quite honest with you, they're not necessarily always balanced. And so this mindset will then keep you stuck in a tit for tat energy, which only breeds further disappointment, and it reflects a culture that is obsessed with fairness, but then often forgetful of generosity as a virtue in and of itself. Like you want fairness, 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 but then everyone always loves to be on the receiving end of generosity. Everyone always loves to be in the presence of someone that's genuinely a generous person. And so, what does that say about that? Is things like fairness more important to us collectively than something like generosity? Because like I can like I can picture it now like picture like a dude unwrapping a scented candle while holding back tears because he brought his sister a whole air fryer. Like the struggle is real. And then when we give, are we truly giving? Or are we attached to this idea of like getting something back, right? Like spiritual wisdom teaches us that the true generosity comes from the heart, which is supposed to be free from expectations, evidently. Right? Like imagine gifting someone a beautiful painting only to find that they hung it in their garage. Like, does that mean that the art has no value, or does it mean your expectations are clouding the act of the giving? We attach so much meaning to how others behave. They didn't value my effort, we'll say. They didn't care about me. But in truth, expectations is what created the suffering in the first place. Like, in fact, he was still gifted something. And the craziest thing is, it looks like socks, but it was a very specific pair of socks. She was aware of the fact that he was in the process of collecting this one brand of socks that he really liked. And he actually said that the reason why he downgraded the gift was because the socks only cost $26 and that he felt that it wasn't in the same price range. But she knew that he really liked this one pair of socks. And so, like, is his expectation actually clouding the act of the gift in itself, the act of actually giving? Is he sitting there thinking that like she didn't put any effort in towards him or that she doesn't care when she actually had a thoughtful reason for why she gave it to him in the first place. So I'm going to ask you to practice giving with a mindset of like no strings attached. Like start small, buy someone a coffee or send them a kind message without expecting anything in return from them. And then like notice how freeing that feels, right? Like comparison steals joy. Like we know that saying, comparison is a thief of joy, especially during the holidays. And so instead of focusing on what's fair, try shifting your attitude into that thing we all at this point are starting to hate to hear, gratitude. Because gratitude isn't about denying disappointment. It's about choosing joy in what is, right? It's about just being like, look, this is what it is, and I'm going to choose to appreciate it just is what it is, right? And like next time you feel like you're slighted, ask yourself, am I choosing peace or am I choosing to keep score? Right? And like one thing I want you to like take away is like, are you the type of person that does give with the secret expectation of return? Because I know people that are like that. I have people in my family who uh for many reasons, because of actually the same reason, they always have falling outs with people. At times I'm not in communication with them because they do this thing where they give with the expectation of receiving. There's one person in my mind in particular who will give you an out of the blue gift, and it'll be like a gift, like sometimes things worth like a few $100 that you were not expecting. And then they tally it, and then in their mind, they can cash it in at any point in time when they want something from you. And then so with this particular person, like I actually have very vivid memories growing up with this particular person where people would like refuse their gifts. Where they would be like, "Hey, I was thinking about you. I got this thing." And because we all knew that it came with additional expectations, because we knew that it was like a scorekeeper and that we were behind and they were going to come collect, it was almost like it was like they were a debt collector. Like they were going to come collect. We'd be like, "No, thank you. I don't really need it. No, thank you." Like, are you that person? Like, because you could be that person. You know what I mean? Do you know people that are like that? Because, like, I do really think that this story is like a reminder for us to like pause and reflect on whether or not you think your generosity is coming from the ego or if it's like true, real deal, genuine generosity and it's coming from love, right? So some things that you can ask yourself is like, do I give gifts or it can be time or love or energy? And do I give them with detachment? And then how can I reframe moments where I'm feeling undervalued? Because sometimes when you feel undervalued, that is in your head. And that's not what other people are actually thinking, right? And you are going to give without expecting anything back, right? This week, you're going to give out a compliment. You're going to give a note, a nice note. Maybe you're going to give a favor and you're going to have zero expectation that you're going to get anything back in return. And then I wanted you to notice how it's going to shift your perspective and you're going to feel lighter in your energy, because at the end of the day, giving should be about love, not scorekeeping. And when we let go of expectations, we can create a space for joy, freedom, and then deeper connections with other people. So I just wanted to put that on your radar because I think that that is absolutely funny. And what I want to leave you with is honestly, just don't be that guy.